37-year-old Julie, a resident of Guwahati, has been voting for several years now. In her case, however, it was acceptance by Julie's parents after she came out as transgender and an availability of all required documents that made it possible for her to exercise the right to vote.
মোৰ নাম খাইৰুল হুছেইন উৰুফে জুলি মই ইয়াৰে গুৱাহাটীৰ হয় আৰু মোৰ ঘৰৰ মানুহ সাপোৰ্ট আছে মোৰ গাঁৱৰ মানুহ সাপোৰ্ট আছে মই যেনেকুৱাই হয় মোক একসেপ্ট কৰিছে সেই গতিকে মোৰ ভোটাৰ কাৰ্ড আছে পান কাৰ্ড আছে আধাৰ কাৰ্ড আছে যেহেতু মই ভোট দিও সেই গতিকে মোৰ সকলোখিনি বস্তু মোৰ আছে
But not everyone has been as lucky as Julie. Having an ID that doesn't match your gender identity or the way you look in it may cost one of your basic constitutional rights, voting. With strict voter ID laws, people in the transgender community have been facing such barrier for several years now. Many in the community have been struggling to get a voter's card for want of proper acceptable documents or lack of documents to get one in the first place. For over 15 years now, 28-year-old Sonia Kaur has been without any basic documents. She ran away from home at the age of 13 and was later disowned by relatives after the passing of her parents, so going back home to collect her documents was not an option. Despite being 28 years old now, Kaur never got the opportunity to exercise her franchise.
মই নাজানো মই ঘৰ ডকুমেন্ট যে কি বস্তু মই একো জানাই নাছিল ঘৰতে আছে একো গমে পোৱা নাই পিছতে মা দেউতা মোৰ জিন্দা থাকোতে এবাৰ দুবাৰমান গৈছিলোঁ তাৰপিছত মা দেউতাটো মোৰ নাই ঢুকাই গৈছে ঢুকাই যাওঁতে দাদাহঁতে মোক একচেপ্ট নকৰে দাদাটো বাইদেউ দুজনী আছে বাইদেউজনী একচেপ্ট কৰে যদি দাদাটো মই গুচি অহাৰ পিছত বাইদেউজনী কাজিয়া কৰে সেইটো কাৰণে মই ভাবোঁ মোৰ কাৰণে বাইদেউজনী কিয় দুখ পাব বুলি মই ঘৰত নাযাওঁ দাদাটো মোক একচেপ্ট নকৰে মানুহ কোনো সুধে তুমি কৰ মই ভাৰতৰ বুলি কওঁ কিছুমানে কৈ দিয়ে কি ছাপোৰ্ট আছে তোমালোকে ভাৰতৰ যে নাগৰিক এনেকৈ কি ছাপোৰ্ট এতিয়া তুমি মুখত জবাব দিব নোৱাৰো তেতিয়া আমি কিবা আইডি প্ৰুফ থাকিলে দেখা পাৰি এইটো প্ৰমাণ আছে মই ক'ব পাৰিম এইটো প্ৰমাণ পত্ৰ নাই ক'ৰ পৰা দেখাম উদাহৰণ কালি মই ট্ৰেইনত গৈছোঁ তাৰপিছত ট্ৰেইনত মই কালেকশ্যন কৰিছোঁ ল'ৰা দুটা কৈছে মই দাদা ভোগালী বিহু কিবা এটা দিব নি কৈছে তই বাংলাদেশী ক'ৰ পৰা আহি পিনে অসমীয়া শিকি লৈছে নে কৈছে দাদা মই অসমীয়া হয় তোমাৰ কি ছাপোৰ্ট আছে নে কৈছে মই কি দেখাম একো ৰিপৰ্ট একো ক'ব নোৱাৰিলোঁ মই কিবা আইডি প্ৰুফ হ'লে মই দেখালে চাওক মোৰ প্ৰমাণ পত্ৰ ক'ব পাৰিলে নাই নহয়
30-year-old Rinki Bora has been away from home for almost 18 years now. She was only 12 when she left home after being subjected to harassment by her family members. Originally from Assam's Lakhimpur district, Bora never looked back and has been staying in Guwahati ever since. But the lack of any documents or identity proof have kept her from having even a bank account, let alone exercise her franchise. After all these years, Rinki has only managed to gather the courage to get in touch with her family, to ask for her documents that could help her get an identity card.
প্ৰথমতে ঘৰৰ পৰা মই ওলাই আহিলোঁ ওলাই অহাৰ পিছত মই ঘৰৰ পৰা পলাই আহিলোঁ অহাৰ পিছত মই লখিমপুৰ ষ্টেচন মোৰ ঘৰ লখিমপুৰ তাৰপিছত লখিমপুৰ ষ্টেচনত আহিলোঁ আহি পেলাই মই ট্ৰেইনৰ ষ্টেচনত আহিলোঁ বা ট্ৰেইনত উঠি মই ৰঙিয়ালৈকে আহিলোঁ তাৰপিছত ৰঙিয়াত অহাৰ পিছত মই এনেকৈ কিডনাৰ আমাৰ যিটো কিডনাৰ গুৰু এনেকৈ লগ পাই পেলাই মোক লৈ গৈ পেলাই তেতিয়া মই তেওঁলোকৰ লগত ৰাখিলে মেলিলে তাৰপিছত পাই মই মা থকালৈকে মোক মানে ইমান ওলাই তেতিয়া মই সৰু আছিলোঁ তেতিয়া মানে মায়ে মোক এৰি দিয়া নাছিলে আহিব দিয়া নাছিলে মা ঢুকোৱাৰ পিছৰ পৰা মানে মোৰ বহুত দুখ হ'ল তেতিয়া মানে মোৰ বহুত অত্যাচাৰ কৰিলে অত্যাচাৰ কৰাৰ পিছত মই আৰু গুচি আহিলোঁ এনেকুৱা মোৰ ঘৰ মই কৈছোঁ এনেকৈ মোৰ ইমান দিন হ'ল ভোটৰ নামটো উঠাবি দেউতাক মানে মই কৈছিলোঁ কওঁতে কওঁতে দেউতাই কাণ হেৰি গুৰুত্বই নিদিয়ে মোক এতিয়া মোৰ সাহসটো আহিছে মানে মোৰ এতিয়া কিছুমান হেৰিয়ত মানে মোক এইবিলাক বিচাৰে ন এতিয়া
When she left home, Bora carried with her nothing but a few clothes. There are many in the transgender community who had to leave their homes under similar circumstances and at an age when they did not understand the importance of documents. Due to fear of insult or embarrassment, they did not contact or they did not try to contact their family members. And this what left many in the transgender community devoid of an identity. According to data provided by the Assam State Election Commission, the number of voters registered under the other category stands at a meager 455 up until 2021. The 2011 census, on the other hand, puts the transgender population of Assam at 11,347. Activists, however, claim that the number of transgenders in the state is close to 20,000, reasoning that many names in the census were clubbed inside the male category for primary data. Swati Vidhan Barua, the first transgender judge from Northeast India, has been fighting for the rights and discrimination against the LGBTQ community for several years now. The activist judge says actual democracy for the transgender community came only in 2014, thanks to the NALSA judgment, even though India won its independence in 1947.
Because see, the normal gender binary norms means what I am referred to is a male and female. They were enjoying each and every right of a democracy after 47, means exactly after the independence. But if we trace the history of the transgender, we will find that the actual democracy, and the rights and the very fundamental rights came after the NALSA judgment, and that NALSA judgment was in the year 2014. Means that actually now if we analyze this entire thing, we will found that it took 65 years for the entire transgender community to establish themselves as a citizen of India. So that is why 2040 is a vital aspect, and that is why that the number increased doubled.
2014 has been a watershed year in India in terms of the legal recognition for transgenders as subjects of citizenship, rights and empowerment. A two-judge bench of the Supreme Court of India, after hearing a petition by the National Legal Services Authority, passed a historic judgment on transgender rights on April 15, 2014. Recognition of transgenders as a third gender is not a social or medical issue, but a human rights issue. Justice K.S. Radhakrishnan, who headed the bench, said in his ruling. A welcome change for the transgender community came in the form of the Transgender Welfare Board. The 6-member board under the Social Welfare Department of Assam aims to implement schemes for the community and ensure its overall development. Registration of names of transgender people in employment exchanges of the state, providing them basic services like shelter and sanitation by creating infrastructure, implementing special health and identity cards, among several others, are some of the tangible measures that are proposed to be taken by the board.
There is a very less documentation, only just a self-affidavit by the transgender saying that was her or his previous name was that, his or her present name is this, and he falls under the category of transgender. And if apart from that self affidavit or self declaration, if anyone also has any documentary evidence provided by any physician that he or she is under transitioning, if any certificate he comes and apply with that certificate, he or she will also be availing the facility of getting the gender identity cards. So that is what we are actually planning after this Magh Bihu. But in the meanwhile, the central government has already started a portal, that is a transgender portal, where any transgender can go and apply on that portal and can also avail the central identity cards. So there will be two identity cards, one will be the central, one will be the state. The central identity card will help them to avail various facilities and schemes floated by the central government, and the state government ID card will help them to avail the benefits and facilities provided by the state government. So there will be only two identity cards for them.
One of the most important initiatives of the Transgender Welfare Board has been the provision for identity cards that can be obtained only by submitting a self-affidavit without the need to produce any additional documentation. This is unlike the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019, according to which recognition as a transgender person requires official registration with the government. While Section 5 of the Act states that a transgender person has the right to be recognized based on his or her self-perceived gender identity, the certificate of that identity can only be obtained through an application to the district magistrate accompanied with other documentation. Today, most transgender persons live by themselves in ghettos after having been disowned by their families at a tender age, often ridiculed and reduced to begging or prostitution, and denied every opportunity to be included into the country's social structure.
মানুহটো সব একেই হয়, আমিও মানুহ হয়, মাইকীও হয়, মতাও সব একে হয়, কিন্তু আমি যেনেকৈ ধৰ আমি মাইকী মানুহৰ ৰূপত আছোঁ, সেইকাৰণে আমাৰ মাইকী লাইনত দিলেও একেলগে দিলেও কোনো কথা নাই। কিন্তু আমি এতিয়া ভোটৰ সময়ত আমি গাঁৱত যাব লাগে, গাঁৱত যাবলৈ মতা মাইকী সব গাঁৱতো কেনেকৈ জানে আপোনালোকে, সেইকাৰণে গাঁৱত অলপ লাজ লাগে। সেইকাৰণে আমি গুৱাহাটীত থাকোঁ, আমাৰ ইয়াতে আমি থাৰ্ড জেণ্ডাৰ হিচাপে আমাৰ ভোটাৰ আইডি পেন কাৰ্ড সব থাৰ্ড জেণ্ডাৰ হিচাপত লাগে, যাতে আমি ইয়াতে ভোটটো দিব পাৰোঁ।
Although there is a rising social and political concern for the people of the transgender community, stigma and the fear of it still exists. For them, it requires overcoming shame to be a face in the crowd. Many of them also have a history of having suffered verbal, physical or sexual abuse. While obtaining IDs and documentation is only one side of the coin, as society may still be far from accepting the third gender as a part of its social fabric.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to EastMojo. For any queries, put them down in the comments section below and press on the bell icon for notifications.